All right, we back? Am I back?
You're back.
Everything freaked out. So I'm not sharing my screen again. Let's try this. Yeah, Zoom had a bit of a heart attack. And let me try recording again. Zoom, behave yourself. Oh no, I am recording. Okay. So number one happened. I am currently recording. All right. So Sergey, what happens in this meeting is very cool. What we do is we go over the code and questions for this week's assignment.
Mm,
I will probably walk through designing a database with you, depending on how much time we have at the end.
but
We'll
I don't need that.
design a database. Well,
Yes.
well, at any point in time, if we're doing something you don't care about, you feel free to check out and head out because are you doing the final project or are you doing the final exam?
I want to do the final project.
Well, then you need to talk about how to design a database. That's what we talk about
Uh,
because the final project is designing a database.
yeah.
Right?
So I have to discuss with you what I'm going to do exactly, or how's it going?
So let's talk about that real quick because I haven't talked about that in a minute. So you decide what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's something absolutely ridiculous or impossible, I won't say no. So the weekly papers that you write for me right now, instead of writing the prompt like, today in the company you learned how to use join statements. Tell me how you like using join statements. Instead of writing those, you're going to write me just a quick journal entry saying, hey, where you are with your project, what you're going to do, what the tables are going to look like.
Oh,
Kind of give me that give me that evolution of the project, right? And then I'll respond to you saying, hey, that's a great idea. Why don't you go ahead and do it? Or I'll say, hey, or like in like Leon's case, like he showed me his ERD and I said, hey, make these changes, and then you make the changes and I help you evolve through there. So
that's
that's how that
amazing.
works. Yep. So that's how that works. And so for the
Mm-hmm.
project, let me go over this again, since you're new to the group and maybe one or two more people are watching this at home. So to do the project, you need to submit to me 6 things. The first thing you need to submit to me is the ERD, which is the design, the physical design of the database, just the table structure. And we'll show you how to make one of those tonight when I start randomly designing a database for fun. The second thing you must submit to me is the code that is used to create that database. The third thing you submit to me,
SQL.
yep, and it is a
Mhm.
really fast way to do that. You will learn how to do that. The
I
third
know
thing
how
you
to
need to
do that.
submit to me. Oh, well, do you know about forward engineering on the ERD?
Huh?
You know how to forward engineer on the ERD?
I don't understand the question.
Yeah,
You
so
said
so here, let me show you. So let me just open the sucker up here. Let me open up a model.
you just export SQL and this is
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so when you have
Yes.
your oh good.
So design of my database SQL.
Mhm.
What else?
So here's your ERD, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you can forward it. You go here in the database, you go to forward engineer, and it creates the code for you. So you don't actually have to write it.
Yes.
Yep, cool, excellent. So then the third thing you need is the T-SQL code to input data into your database. So your insert statements to
Um,
bring data in.
um, I can write it on Python. I can write something on Python that would fill my database with
So
some data.
the problem with that
Mm-hmm.
is that this is a T-SQL class, not a Python class. And I don't have Python to populate. So when I grade the data, when I grade your assignments, I run
Mm-hmm.
everything in here. I run everything in this little world here. So
Okay.
I need the T-SQL code to do it.
Okay.
And then so that's the fourth thing. I need the data. I need the T-SQL to input data into the database. The fifth thing that I know, the fourth thing I need, I need ERD code. Yeah. The fourth thing I need, are your test cases. So what
Mm.
I need from you is to come up with like 5 to 7 things that someone would do with your database. For example, if you were going to do a database for a bookstore, right? And you have all your stuff in there, you might want to know what books sold, what was the book that sold the most in March? Who is my customer who bought the most books last year? What books do I still have in inventory by this specific author? So those are what test cases are, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna write 5 to 7 of those and then write me the code to pull that data out of the database to present to me. So what I suggest doing for these is once you've done the ERD, write the test cases first. And then
Mhm.
populate your database based on what needs to be there to respond to the test cases. Because when I run your test cases, when you send the code to me, I run the code that creates the database first, and then
Mhm.
I populate the database, and then I run the test cases, and the test cases have to have data that comes out of them. There needs to be a response to them.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So, and then the fifth thing I need is just a mock-up of what the front end of this application might look like. I don't care what it's in. It could be crayons on construction paper for all I care. But it just has to be some sort of mock-up saying, because I need to know that you can look at the front end of a database, a front end of an application, and tell me how it ties into the database. So like
Mhm.
you'll show me a screen say this button runs this query, this text box populated from this table, stuff like that.
Okay.
And then the final thing I need is either a PowerPoint presentation or a short video just
Short
describing
video.
your project.
I hate PowerPoint presentations.
Everyone does. I prefer videos. So just a 2 to 3 minute video walking me through your
Mhm.
project. That's it.
Okay. Can you please send me this list somewhere,
I will
or where can?
I will put it in the comments of this video when I post this video tomorrow.
Awesome. Because
Okay.
I have to go right now. I have an appointment with my state president.
Okay, well, go. That's important stuff.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay,
Have a
bye.
good night.
You too. All right. So Leon, it's just you and me then. All right.
Sounds good.
So let's go over. I'm gonna go over the code from last week and the code from this week. Because there's a couple of things that I talk about in week 6 and 7 that aren't taught in the lessons. So, and I think they're hypercritical things personally. But first, do you have any questions about the
Well,
work
I do
last
have
week?
one question just from last week.
Sure.
Um, the I'm trying to understand the difference between date time and timestamp. They seem to have the same parameters. What would be a reason why you would use a date time versus a timestamp? I mean, a date time, yeah, date time versus like timestamp.
Um, let me see if I can see. Date time, if I'm remembering correctly, and I have to double check this. If you have a date time, a date time data type on your table column, you can insert the data. If it is a timestamp, it is an automatic insert.
Oh, that makes sense. So if somebody, let's say in my app that I'm just thinking about where somebody might give a rating, at that point you could timestamp when that information was inputted, so you know, uh, was this a rating that was done 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago, 3 days ago.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's an automatic populated field. I know that's the case in other RMDBSs. I think that's the case in Oracle in MySQL. I personally don't use timestamp. I use datetime because datetime allows me to break it down to month, day, year very easily using the different components. And
Yeah.
I don't think timestamp lets you do that.
Okay.
Timestamp is a very, very ugly. I'm actually surprised I haven't gotten rid of it yet, but any other questions?
I'm looking at this one here, but I don't remember the video well enough, but it just says insert. In the example, they used predefined strings. Can you use a column heading like last name?
Oh, I think I'm talking about this. I think that's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go over that in a second. How you want to say the specific columns in your insert strings. So when you're running an insert command,
Right, you can call out the
this works,
yeah.
but that can get ugly because if you don't have to put data in all of the columns when you insert it. So I always like to just call out the columns here because if you look at my table here for, I don't know the person said it. because here this will be the person, I got person ID, last name, first name, age, and email. Here, I'm not putting anything in email, right? So if I
Right.
just do insert into persons, it's going to expect everything.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that. And then also here, because so here in this insert statement here, you'll see I have last name, first name, age. And the only reason I can do that is because my person ID is auto increment, which means it'll always go to the next one. So I don't have to put, I can if I want to, but I don't have to put person ID here to the table. It's interesting. So an interesting difference here, like in Oracle and in Microsoft SQL Server, the property here is called identity. And if you mark an ID column as identity, you cannot manually insert into it. It'll cause an error. It'll lock it down. But auto increment allows you can insert what you want to it. So yeah, so that's what we're talking about. They're talking about, I think in the video I'm talking about this, making sure that you delineate which columns you want in your insert statement and not leaving it to chance.
Yeah. Okay. This was kind of an odd question because I downloaded the classic models table from one of the readings
Mm.
and played around with it. And I thought, well, I'm going to try an order by total by descending because I noticed that the totals
Mm.
were just randomly in there. So when I did the order by total descending, it started with 98,000, and then it goes down to the lowest being 28,000, and then it does a 278,000 down to 100,000. So I was trying to understand, and the only thing I could think, and this I'm just because I don't know if you've downloaded any of those and done them,
Mm.
but I'm assuming that it's doing a little bit more than total. It's looking at the units as well. So if I've sold 4 Ferraris, it's going to come in at $1 million, and therefore and only one Mercedes. I'm gonna see the Mercedes group first. I'm gonna see the group ones sold one first, then the sold two first, then the sold three first,
Right.
and then put their totals in descending. That's the only thing that I can think based on what I saw, and I played around with it because I wanted to do fun things. I just wanted to try. So
That's it. I'm not really sure. I haven't played with that myself, so I don't really know. There's a couple of things. It might be that it's doing a multiple different when you're doing the select, it's pulling the sort is having a number of things. That's possible. It's also possible that the data type of that column isn't an integer based. I've seen that happen a couple times where the data type of the column is like a character, so it doesn't sort right. I'd have to see the actual examples. If you so I'm not 100% on that, but
yeah, it's okay. I was just curious.
yeah. Did you write the select statement yourself, or was it one that was there?
It was an example that was there, and
Uh,
so I just added in descending because I didn't want my numbers. It's a AC OCD thing,
oh yeah.
having it all jumbled up. I want to see it the way I want to see it, not the way the system is going to tell me how to see it. So
Yeah, that's it's probably most likely that that select statement is ordering it somewhere else along the line, but
yeah, I think it is.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like quantity is total order by total. I'm trying to find the total. It's no big deal. We
Yeah.
you can move on.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna start with the code that I would have covered last week, and then I'm gonna move to the code that I covered this week. So last week was the week we talked about insert statements, insert updates, and delete the rest of the DDL commands. I'm sorry, the DML commands, the data manipulation language commands. So the first thing I have here is a quick create table statement. I've got a create table called persons, because we don't plural. I gotta do this. Called persons. I'm doing a person ID. I'm setting it as integer. It's not null, and I use auto increment, which means it'll always. I don't have to insert that value. It'll always go to the next one that's available. I've got last name varchar not null, which means there has to be a value in there. First name varchar 255. It's allowing nulls. Age integer, which is optimistic since integer is like 2.5 million. We should change that to something else, but leave it there now. And then
Can you
email of
do
varchar
tiny-
25. I
tiny
probably
int?
do tiny int. Yeah. And then varchar for email, and then primary key is gonna be the person ID. So I'm just gonna create this table real quick because I'm gonna do some playing with it here. Okay. So now if I go here and I refresh my tables, my person's table is here. Okay. And I have my columns there. I have all this great stuff. My index is there. I don't have any foreign keys. I don't have any triggers. So when I'm writing an insert statement, whenever I'm writing any kind of statement off the table and I want to save myself a lot of time, if I right click the table and I go here to send to SQL editor, I've got select all statement, insert statement, update statement, a delete statement, and a create statement. So, and then delete with references. So delete with references is if you have a foreign key and you want to delete something from here, you need to reference the other table. So it'll delete from your table, the one table there, and then delete from the other table. So your data stays clean. But that is an advanced topic for a different time. But if I want to do any insert, update, delete, or create statements, I can use any of these and it will generate that for me. And all I gotta do is go in there and change the information so the value is going properly. Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is a very nice way to cheat some stuff out. I call it cheating, but the truth is, like, when even if you've been doing this years and years and years, you sometimes forget the actual syntax for how to write something, and it's great to go in here and just have this done here, so you can go, okay, here's the delete statement, right? Okay, so let's look at a basic anatomy of an insert statement. Insert into, and then we've got the the person's ID, person's table. And like I said, I always put these columns here because if you look at my person, where'd my oh okay. If you look at my my person's table here, I've got ID, last name, first name, age, and email. And here I'm only putting in ID, last name, first name, and age, right? I'm not putting in email. Since it's null, I don't have to do that. If I take this off and try to run this here, it's going to shoot me an error, and the error is going to say something effective. Column count doesn't match value count.
Yeah,
So it's saying, yeah.
Could you put in a statement, just the word null?
Yeah. Yep. If I did that, then it would work. Because I've got the then it would work because all the rows are accounted for.
Yeah.
Okay. But the point is, like, I don't want to have to, and if I do this here with the null there, it's going to come up wrong because it doesn't
Yeah,
match.
I see a question there. You have in your create table, primary key, then you have in parentheses personal ID. Is that how you tell can you not tell it up in the top there on person ID?
For that's the primary key.
So yeah, on line 11, can
Yeah.
you not add line 11 into line 6 so that it knows?
You can, but I mean, I prefer I like keeping everything separate because I don't want like a really long flowing line here. This is enough here, and then down here, I can say the primary key.
Okay.
It's personal preference on how to write code. You can absolutely just line it up here across the board, but I like putting it at the bottom. Sometimes, honestly, a lot of times I will write a separate, I will go here and go create index and then script it out, right? Let's see. Info, so close that out. Okay. I go here and I want to do, it's not letting me script it out. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna say, give me that person ID, and then I want to create the index for that column. I want to use that ID.
Yeah, you're probably getting too far ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, I like doing it as a if I'm writing the code on my own, I'll go here and the alter table. I'll run an alter table command,
Oh, I see.
and then add the index after the fact.
Yeah. Okay.
The reason why I'll do that is because if you're let's say you've got your database and you're about to populate with like 50,000 rows of data, right? So when you insert data into a table, it inserts the row and then it starts making it does one at a time, boom, boom, boom. And then if it runs out of space, there's two places to run out of space. It run out of space for the actual table, right? But it can also run out of space for the index. Those are two different space areas on your hard drive. So sometimes you'll have to grow into that. And what'll happen is you'll insert the row into the table and then it has to insert into the index. So you're doing these double inserts, right? And if you're doing like 50,000, 80,000, 100,000 rows, that's taking a lot of time. So what I'll do is I'll have code available that I can drop the index, input the data, and then recreate the index. It actually ends up being significantly faster than trying to insert the data with the index in play. And that is we're deep diving tonight, you and me, Leon.
Yes,
We're going to the deep doctrine.
I'm just going to pretend like I understood what you said.
So okay, so
I mean, I get what you're saying. You're trying to
yeah.
save. You're trying to save server CPU time by
Mhm.
writing a cleaner code,
Yeah.
and by doing it the way you've done here with that line 11. The cleanness in that is that when I come along and see that, I go, oh, primary key is the person ID.
Exactly.
It's clearer for me to see.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying, and that's the purpose of that is exactly that. Whoever follows me, because I'm not going to stay with this company forever. I want someone to look at this code going, oh, I understand exactly what he did here.
Yeah.
It's just all about clean code. It's the same
Yeah.
thing for here. I could absolutely do this without that being there and put the null there. But if I do this, someone who comes after me is going to go, oh, I see exactly what he did here.
Yeah.
Right. So I can do so, and just for a quick thing, all this does here, all this does here is
randomize the ages. That's what you said.
Yeah.
I watched your video.
Oh, you know what it is. So that's it's gonna be random age. It's just something. It's just I like playing with random things sometimes. So this makes a random age.
Yeah.
So we've got this insert into persons. This, and I can do it one at a time like this, or I can do it like this, multiple ones at once. So I can do insert into persons, values in parentheses, the first value, the second value, the third value, the fourth. I can go as long as I want to make it faster. So that's another way to insert a table. And again, here I took out personal ID from here, personal ID because I don't need it because it's auto increment. So all I have is last name, first name, and age, and I can run that, and it'll work gloriously. I can also go here, and I can insert into persons last name, first name, age, and take it from another table. I can just use a select statement to insert into my tables. So I'd run this.
So how does you're not doing a join? Oh, you're just saying.
Yeah, I'm saying is insert into, and then take this stuff and put it in there.
And what is the lower doing?
The where?
Lower on line 28.
Oh, so the lower. So
I was putting it in lowercase.
Yeah, it's all lowercase.
Okay.
Yeah, because I can do upper here. I can do upper instead. So here's my results, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I just threw these two commands in there because they're commands that exist in the world. And when you have something that's case sensitive, you want to whitewash it so it's all the same case. So here I can take all this and I can dump this into the person's table, and I've inserted 201 rows. And if I just select, there's my persons. And I'm ordering my last name, so the ID is not consistent, but that's what we got, right?
Yeah.
Now, so that's the insert statement, pretty cut and dry. So here's a side thing that I find very interesting. So you've got your table here. We've got the persons table. Where's my data? We've got the persons table, right? Now, I think I talked to you guys before about the transaction log. So whenever you write something to a database, right, from the user's computer,
Yeah, it writes it over to the transaction log,
right?
and it determines whether or not it completed. If it didn't, then it tells the tool it's writing, saying, "Hey, this is where we ended off at," and you start at that rather than
Exactly. Exactly. So here's another neat part of that, right? So you've got your table here. So let's say I insert into a table, right? What happens is when I run that insert command, all of a sudden, the database creates a table called inserted, and it's this temporary table. Okay. And what it does is even before it writes it to the log, it takes what you're writing it and inserts it into this inserted table. The inserted table is an exact copy of the table you're inserting into. And the reason it does this, it makes sure that the data you're putting in will go into the table properly without causing an error. So what actually happens is when you are doing this, here's the end user computer, right? So first, it goes into there, then it goes into there, which is the log, and then it goes into the database itself. So what you can actually do is at a certain point in time in the transaction, you can select from the inserted table and get a value. So now when you delete, the same thing happens. A table called deleted comes up.
it's built.
It gets created. And what happens is when you run your delete statements, first it goes here to make sure it can delete without a problem. Because when it goes here, they're checking foreign keys. When it goes here, it's checking foreign keys as well. So it's all sorts of error checking here. When it's deleted, then it goes here, and then it goes here, and then it's in the table, right? So that's delete. Now here's the fun one. When you do an update, it does both. When you do an update statement, it writes the insert table what you're inserting, and it writes the deleted table what you're deleting. Because you're changing something, right?
Yeah.
And so you can, and then it writes, then it goes from here to here, and to here, to here, and then to the table. So it's interesting the way that works because when you get into the D part of how this works, you can select from that when you're doing a large update, you can put it into a transaction, which I'm going to talk about in a second. You can not complete that transaction, and then you can select from the deleted table to make sure everything went out the right way. And we're going to talk about I'm talking about transactions in a second, how they work. So anyway, that was just a kind of a sidebar there that I like to bring up here. So here, I'm going to update the table. I'm going to update persons, and then I'm going to set a set command what I'm changing. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to update persons. I'm going to set email to I'm concatenating. I'm taking the first 4 letters of the first name and then put an underbar, and then the first 4 letters of the last name, and then adding gmaol.com to it. So I'm making this concatenation to make my email address. So I'm write my update persons. You are using safe update mode. Oh, that's an interesting thing.
There is a way to disable it.
Yeah. Toggle the option preference SQL editor and reconnect. Oh well, I'll just do this. Where that is, yeah, that is. I forgot that's part of this. That is a amazing guardrail for this, because I have made the mistake in the past where I've forgotten the where clause and changed a bunch of stuff I wasn't supposed to. So I run this. So now everything changed. So if I look at my stuff here, I have my email just been inserted. Now, when I update, again, here I'm going to say a different update. I'm sending email and I'm using a replace command. I'm saying set the email address and I want you to send it to get the what's there right now and then replace this with this. So I'm going to go good morning AOL to Gmail. I add my where clause, so it lets me do it. And now everything is right as rain. Replace and substring are powerful, powerful tools in the world of query writing. So substring, what you want to get it from, where you want it to start, and how far you want it to go. So for first name, start the first character and then go 4. Last name, so the first name and go 4. I can start at the third character and go 4. The sixth character 4. Okay. Now, a transaction. Whenever we run a code, whenever I run this, right, it is considered a transaction. It's considered what they call an implicit transaction. This is one transaction. This is one transaction. This is one transaction. Whatever I run at one time becomes one transaction. Okay. And what happens is it runs, it finishes, it commits, it's done. I'm not telling you how to deal with it. I'm just saying just run the transaction. But what I can do is I've got this command called start transaction. Okay. That means anything that happens after that is considered a transaction, but I'm in control of it now. And when I do start transaction, I've got two things. I've got rollback and I've got commit. Okay. So that means if I do this, if I run this with rollback and run that, this is a new installation. If I haven't turned this off yet, I forgot this was this area. Can I get here? Okay. So I do this here and I run this. Out of range, value for age grow. Oh. Okay. It changed 49 rows, but then rolled it back. So it didn't finish. It didn't allow the transaction to finish. It rolled everything back. So it started, it checked it, it ran successfully, and then it rolled back the changes. If I do the same thing with commit, instead of commit, it commits and brings the data there. Right? So if I do this.
So if I understand just a real world scenario, you would do a rollback just to verify that your code is going to accurately do what you need it to do.
Yep. They say it changed 49. I need to change 49 rows. It changed the 49 rows. Because what I can actually do is I can do this. And then I can select from this. Okay. And it's gonna show me all the things that have changed. And then if I go back here to rollback, and I go here again, all those 99s are gone.
Oh, the data went back.
Yep. So I can run.
Did it after the start trans.
Yep. So I can run the start transaction and not issue a rollback command or commit can't. So I'm here, I'm live. I can start looking at things, making sure everything's working, and then I can go roll everything back.
And then once you've verified that the data is accurate and what you wanted it to do, you can then run the commit and it's now permanent.
Exactly. Right. So once I do this, it's not permanent, I roll it back. But I can also do like error. I can throw if statements here. If there's an error, roll back. Or if it's successful, commit. So I can do error handling in here as well, which is beyond the scope of the class. But
I was gonna say that.
yeah,
That sounds really cool. I'd really like to see it, but I think it's probably more above what we're doing.
yeah,
but-
it's only I could probably write it in my MS SQL. It's like if error count is greater than 0, roll back. You know.
Yeah.
But the thing is here, so the important thing so this we're going to talk about table locks. So if I run this and I've got this table in that if I'm running this and I've got the transaction open, that table is locked and no one else can touch it. So we're in a situation where there's an exclusive lock on that table and no one else can touch it, which means if I've got this transaction open and someone tries to select off this table, they're going to get an error.
Right.
I wonder if I can do that. Let me see something here. New. I don't know if this will work here. And in T-SQL this works.
Open up a new instance.
Yeah, because in T-SQL every window you have open is
A different user.
it's not a different user, it's a different it can be the same user, it's a different ID.
Oh,
It's a
different
different
connection ID.
it's a different SPID.
Okay.
So here, let's see if it works. Let's grab this over here. Where's my error? Nope, it doesn't work that way. So in MySQL doesn't work that way. If this were Microsoft, if this were Microsoft SQL Server, this would have been an error saying the table is locked and you can't get to it because there's no multiple SPIDs here. But if you were logged into the table from your computer, it would error out saying you can't do this.
Right.
And I can roll back here, right? And now it's open again. So I can go ahead, let me run this. And so
Even if you did ran commit, it would then open again, right? Because at that point you completed your.
Correct.
It's only when you don't do a rollback because you've now opened up the connection. It's saying,
Correct.
"Hey, somebody's in here working on this. Give me a few minutes to fix the data. Once it's done, you can then have access to it."
Exactly. The best example of this is back when you and I were kids, and it was before the days of call waiting, and we were on landlines, and you called somebody there on the phone, you get the busy signal. That little that's what that is.
Yeah.
You're just getting the busy signal. So let me commit this here. Okay. So everything's good. Now if I do my select from persons, all my 99 then are there again. Okay. Now, deletes. Yikes. Deletes, I can do delete from persons where last name is like W. So let me put this into a transaction. Okay, so I do this, start transaction, delete. It's I gotta turn that off. Okay, hang on a second. I don't want to reconnect. Okay, I just have to do this. Okay. So here, I run this. Why would you let me do that with it? Wait a second. Hang on.
Don't you have to have your semicolon?
No, you should let me do that. Try to do that with a where. Oh, it's not letting me use the key column. That's what it is. I'm not using the primary key and person ID. Here's the one. So this will work. So I do this here. I don't know why. So do this. 24 rows were affected. I'm still in transactions. I'll roll it back. Okay. So now the point I want to make with this is, when we run a delete statement, it doesn't delete all the rows at once. It deletes each row one at a time. Okay, because when you're running a delete statement, like I said with the tape, when you do the log, so if I've got my transaction log running, I delete each row. I delete row 1. It goes in the transaction log. It deletes it, comes back, deletes row 2 in the transaction log. So it goes one by one through it, deletes each row individually, not en masse. Okay. And it's completely recorded in the transaction log. So if I were to run this one, here, delete persons from person, inner join customer on persons.last name equal customer last name, and person ID is greater than 1. Oh, where? So here I'm just demonstrating that we can use inner joins in delete statements. Grab my start transaction over here, put that here, grab my 2 guys here, put that here. I'm gonna run my transaction. I did give it a key column. Anyway, I'm not gonna mess with that. Anyway, I gave it a key column, it just doesn't like it. So I can use inner joins, right? And again, if this were successful, I was going to get this error. I would delete X amount of rows one at a time, right? And then I can roll back commit. Now, truncate. Truncate table flushes the table completely with prejudice. Okay. So if I run this, it deletes from the table. So I do here, let me just do this here. And I did that. Let me do this. Yeah. No, it didn't let me do it. Oh. Oh, delete from. I gotta do from. Okay. If I did this, right, it would delete 206 rows, and I would roll back, and they would still be there. Right. If I did this, if I take this and put that there instead, and I run start transaction truncate table, and they roll it back, it's empty. Truncate isn't logged.
It
Truncate,
bypasses all of those processes.
yep, just completely deletes what's in the table.
Why would
The
you
only
ever?
thing, if you have a temporary table that you're dumping stuff into,
Oh,
if you're there's actually a number of times you'd use truncate, never on like your permanent live tables. But that's the thing. So if you did delete from where ID is, and you did delete the 206 rows, and let's say you need to go back and fix that, and because you delete everything by accident, you can actually go into the transaction log and pull all that stuff out. If you use truncate, the only thing in the log is truncate table, and then it's all gone. You got to go to backup to get it all out. And the reason I did it this way is because it was in a transaction, and it didn't let the it bypassed the whole transaction thing. So, and I rolled it back, and it's still gone.
nothing there. Yeah,
Yep,
it's all
it's still
gone.
gone. Yep. Okay. Okay, any questions on that stuff?
No.
So this week's code is all about grouping and inner joins and things like that. So I've got a couple queries here that does some playing with inner joins, and it uses this command called rollup, which I'm going to explain to you. I don't, and I'm gonna do case statements. Now, case statements aren't actually in your assignments until somewhere in week 8 or 9, or 10. But I love case statements, and they're really, really cool, especially if you're trying to do some good case studies. So here, I've got this query that I wrote. I'm selecting title from film, amount from payment, and the rental date. And I'm taking, and remember, rental date's a timestamp. I'm just taking the date out of it. I'm joining film to inventory on the film ID, joining it to rental on the inventory ID, and joining to payment on the rental ID. And I'm ordering it by the rental date. So this is just a really long query that gets me everything that was rented, how much it cost, and the day it was rented. Okay. So I'm gonna make a change to this here. I'm gonna comment this out first. Okay. So I'm gonna do the same thing here, except I'm gonna add count to rental date, and I'm gonna add sum to amount. So what I'm doing here is instead of getting the title, the amount, and the day it was rented, I'm getting the title, how many times it was rented, and the total amount of money that was gotten from that particular film being rented. So here's an aggregate count, and here's an aggregate sum. And it's the same join structure. Nothing has changed on that. All I've done is added count to rental date and sum to amount. And then down here, I added group by. Because remember, whenever you're using aggregates in the select query, you must have a group by command that includes any column that is not in the aggregate. These are my aggregates. So when I run this, I get this cool thing. Okay, so blanket Beverly was rented 12 times, and my total gross amount is 4088. Okay, if I add with roll up, watch what happens. It's down here at the bottom. It just totals it out.
Totals out all the movies.
Hmm.
Till time.
So, yep.
Yeah.
So I have 16,044 rentals for a total income of 67,406.56 dollars. That's all with roll up does. It just rolls up. It rolls up the aggregate columns into one column. It's just like the sum column on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's also like pivot tables where
We're
you
gonna
can.
we're gonna talk about pivot tables in a second.
Okay.
Pivot tables aren't actually in MySQL. They are in Oracle, and they are in Microsoft SQL Server. So there is a pivot command in them. But it's sort of like a pivot table, yeah. But in this case, because we're gonna talk about pivot tables in a second when we talk about the case statements. But yeah, this is more like a sum. So here, now here, we're gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna get rid of this with roll up again. So here, everything's the same, rental date, count, and so here's a little different. I'm doing a little different. So now I'm taking the date of the rental, how many videos were rented on that day, and how much money I made that day. I'm just kind of mixing it up a little bit. Instead of doing the title and the aggregate being the rental date, I'm doing the aggregate as the title, just to mix it up a little bit. So this is going to tell me, is going to show me the date, how many titles were rented, and how much my total gross was for that day. This has not changed. This is still the same. I now, since rental date is my non-aggregate, I'm grouping by that. And I've got this one here, having. Having is my where clause for aggregates. So I can't do where some amount, where I can't use the where command here, it won't work. Because where does not recognize aggregates. Having recognizes aggregates. So this is where the sum of the amount is more than 1,500. So if I run this on July 6th, I rented 504 things, and the total is that. July 7th, July 8th, so on and so forth. So that's, and this only wears over $1,500, right? If I had with roll up, notice those numbers. Those are the same numbers when I did the entire table.
Why?
because I wonder if it's because of where I put this. I think it's a bug in yeah, it doesn't go there. There's something with there's something with MySQL that because the with rollup is here, that's where it rolls up from. It doesn't roll up with the having, and you can't put
The having
having
first.
there. Yeah. So it's just a weird bug in
So
that.
it's counting everything, period,
Yep.
but not giving you the accurate data based on what you asked it to show you.
Exactly. Exactly. Because this number is the same.
Yeah,
And if I change this to like, 5,000,
it's
right?
gonna be the same.
It just gives me my roll up because nothing's over 5,000.
Yeah.
I change that to 2,500. It's a weird bug in MySQL that does this. So here we go. And then it does still the same numbers.
And it's still counting it the whole
Because
table.
the roll up is here. It's rolling up this data. It's not counting the having stuff.
Yeah. Can
So
you
it's
put
just,
that? Could you have put that like in a where clause before the group by?
the having clause here.
Yeah.
No.
So you can't say where some.
No, you can't. If you try to do that,
No, I'm saying don't use the word having.
yeah.
You can't do
That
where. Gives you an error. Invalid use of group function.
you cannot have a where you have an aggregate. It has to be having. Where is only applicable to non-aggregate columns. Those are aggregate columns. Can't use it there. It has to be having. Yeah, it's just a weird bug in there. I really haven't had the energy to go figure out why it does this because again 20 some odd years I've never used the having command other than to demonstrate how the having command works. I mean I've never used the rollup command other than just to demonstrate how the rollup works. Okay. So now let's talk about the case statement. Oh, we're at 10:30, so we're gonna go a little late today. You good with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It's this the last thing we're gonna talk about. So what the case statement does, it adds to the query. So here I'm selecting title and rating.
Real quick, I have
the,
a quick question because I read the power slides, but I don't remember the word case. Is this?
No, this is 2 weeks from
Oh,
now.
okay. Okay.
I bring this up now because it's an organic lead into what we're doing here. And this is
Okay.
actually the last thing we talk about. Starting next week, all we're going to do is design databases. We're done talking code.
Okay.
Because weeks 8 and 9 are everything we talked about tonight. Week 10 is indexes, week 11 is something else, and week 12 is views.
Okay.
And I might talk a little bit about views with the code, but all you're doing with a view is we'll talk about that later. I don't want to get into that. Yeah,
No,
but
yeah.
so yeah. So what a case statement allows you to do is it allows you to more manipulate the data even more in your database, in your query. So here I'm selecting title and rating from film, right? But then I'm doing this thing called a case statement. So what the case statement is saying if the rating equals R, then I want you to return not kids. If the rating is in G, PG, or PG-13, I want you to return kids. And if it's not in any of these, I want you to return no one. Okay, so let me run this and you'll see what I'm talking about. So here, academic dinosaur, PG, and the audience is for kids. Now, why would you do something like this? So if I take here and I take the rating system off here, right? And I run that without the rating commands. Now this is good for kids, this is good for kids, that's not good for anybody. That's good for kids, that's not for kids. So what a case statement allows you to do, it allows you to take the data that's in the column and manipulate it even further to give your customers what they need to see versus what's there.
Yeah,
Right.
what they want to see.
Right. So like, let's take this for a different example. Let's say we don't want we're running a car rental business, right? And we want to we don't want the customer's age to come up when we run a query. We just want to know whether or not they're eligible to rent. Right?
Uh-huh.
So I can write a query that would select the age from the table. I'd put it into a case statement and say, if age is over at 25 or over, say eligible. If it's not, then put ineligible.
Yeah.
So when the CSR sees it, they're not getting the person's age. They're just seeing whether they're eligible or they're ineligible to
Yeah,
rent
that
a
makes
car.
sense.
Yeah. So this is a real handy thing to do because, again, part of the job as a developer is to make sure the data is being extracted and given to the customer in the format they need to see it versus what's there.
Yeah.
So now so we're talking about pivot tables. There is a question on next week's exercises. Okay. And basically what they want you to do, so I've got this query here. I'm selecting name and count from language on language ID, and I'm grouping my name. So this gives me this response. Why did that do that? Is my table pooched? Nope, I'm good. Okay. Select name, count, group by name. Select film. Oh, wait a second. Oh, I got to say select from film. I think I need to doctor. Oh, I've got to doctor this table up a little bit here. Okay, hang on a second. I got to do something real quick. Update film. I forgot to run this. So I had to reinstall all this stuff on my computer before the semester, so I had to make some changes here. Update film, set. Language ID equal to 6, where description like cat. Oh, oh. And film ID greater than 1. Okay. All right, and then let's change this to ADV and change that to 5. Nothing changed there. Let's change that to AD. Okay, let's change that to TH and change that to 3. Okay, so now when I run this, all right, there we go. So we've got 463 moves in English, 306 in Japanese, 194 in French, and 37 in German, right? So this is just the table. Now, I don't have a pivot table command, but I want this data to come out so where it's English is the column name and the count is, I want to go across here instead of that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a select statement. I'm going to select. I want the column to be English. I want the column to be, I got to do here. I got to do another one. Oh, else.
You're just changing the direction of the way the data is being displayed.
Yep. So let me do this here. So I got, so 1 and it's 6, 5, and so I did 6. So select our language. So here I did German, so change that. And this is an ugly way to do it, but it's just explaining this. German. And then 5 is French. Is French. So instead of having this here where I'm running this and I get like
And that-
this,
Yeah, you're gonna get it.
I get this. I just pivoted it. I mean, it's a poor man's pivot. And because you have to manually put everything in here, it's ugly. But this actually answers a question on next week's quiz that 99% of the people have trouble with.
Okay. Next
I just
week's question.
Yeah, next week's. I think it might be this week's. It's most likely next week's. I'm almost positive it's next week's quiz or next week's exercises.
Yeah, because
Oh, yeah.
they haven't talked about case at all yet.
No, I'm pretty sure that's next week. That's week 8. But this of all the things I've taught tonight, transaction is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
It lets you do things without fear of breaking anything. And this is not something we talk about in the confines of this class, but I always bring it up because if you're gonna be any kind of T-SQL developer, transaction is a critical application, a critical command to know how to use. And then we don't talk about truncate, but that's just a party trick. And case statements, which we will talk about next week, which it will be the case statements are incredibly powerful for manipulating data to show people what you want them to see.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. So, and that here endeth the reading, and we're 10 minutes over. So like I said, next week, weeks 8, 9, and 10, when we meet, it will be either going over someone's final project they need to talk about, or I'll just ad hoc design a database and kind of go through some. I'll find questions people have asked over the week, and I'll design a database that has the tricks of what's dealing with someone, the stumbling blocks that someone else is dealing with. As of week 11, there are no more Tuesday night meetings.
Okay.
And it is strictly if you need help, it's one-on-one stuff.
Okay.
So it's just the last 2 weeks of the year, of the semester we don't meet.
And we're on week 7, right? So 5 more weeks. I still have time to build my database.
Yeah,
Actually,
well, we're in week 7, so it's technically 7 more weeks.
oh yeah, 7 more weeks, but in
Yeah.
order to get the final project
Yeah.
done, this week I've been thinking about names, but I think what I'm going to do is probably design my app, because when you really think about building something, starting at the beginning or at the back end is not the place to start. You should.
I've always designed it from the back end out, but that's just because I'm a database guy.
Yeah, that reminds me of a funny story. There's this company, Vivid, down the road here, and they decided that they were going to do a match donation to the stakes, the local stakes, and so they built this website, and you could make a donation, but if you wanted your donation to be anonymous, you actually had to select that. And so that was a perfect example of IT saying, hey, we want to have this website where people can make a donation. And they built it, but nobody, they just said, well, this is what they want.
Right.
But nobody said, well, we would really like it to be anonymous. And if they want their name to be shown,
Yeah.
select that. So that's the downside of building, in my opinion, from the back end outward.
Oh, see, if that was that was a requirement for the if that was a requirement for the database or for the application, you can design a table and give a column a default value,
Yeah.
and then the query that the stored procedure that you give to input it, if that value is not given, it by default it defaults to anonymous.
Yeah.
So it's
And that's
yeah.
really should have would have that's what it should have done. But
Yeah.
because my wife likes to donate to stuff, but she doesn't want people knowing she's doing it.
Yeah.
So hey, did you see my emails about last week's quiz?
I think I did. Let me stop sharing and let me think. I think I did. I had a number of people pop up questions. Week 6 and 7 are ones that I correct the problems as I find them. But there were some ones that I missed. Let me see. Let's see. That's the blowing up the thing. The only emails I have from you are still about the PC issue. Did you send it to me on the inbox in the application in that?
No, I sent it just via email.
Oh, maybe it's because did you send it through your BYU email?
Yeah, they're bad. The subject lines are bad question and another one, I believe.
There, okay, there it is. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've deleted those questions actually.
Okay, so
Yeah.
will my score change?
I'll go fix it right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
because someone pointed out that it's that I don't know who did that, but someone had to have like a small stroke. When you're doing
yeah,
like the extract function returns a string data value, true or false, multiple answers are possible. How is that even? That's not a thing. You can't have multiple answers when it's true false.
yeah. What
Space
about that
zeros.
other one? You see the other one?
I have the one for question 6. Bad question.
Yeah, and then I sent one like minutes later, just saying another one, I believe, is the subject line.
Oh, okay, let me look at another one.
So on round one, I
Oh, there it
answered
is.
all
Got
three
it.
of those, and then on round two, I like to take the quiz twice
Yeah,
because why not see all of them? But the second one, it gave me
weird
partial,
stuff.
even though all of those are actually do work, and I've tested them in my SQL.
Yeah, and this is week 6.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just same week 6.
yeah. It's funny because the week 6 quiz was before they give me the permission to make changes. In the data in the thing here. Week 6 was the worst quiz because there were a ton of questions on something called VI editor. And VI editor is not talked about anywhere. In this, okay, let's give you the full points for that.
Oh, I never saw
Fix
that.
that.
Those questions.
Oh, I deleted them all. I finally deleted them all from the master.
Oh,
Yeah, they gave me the,
but prior to me taking the
yeah,
quiz.
Yeah, that was last semester.
I'll admit, after seeing all those, it makes me question all the rest of my quizzes because inevitably I've missed one out of every single one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, some of them are. I mean, I've between like I've got one of my other instructors. I'm the what they call the ACL. So I'm the course lead. I'm the assistant course lead. So I've got one of my team is like super good about finding questions that are problematic. So he pulled out. He didn't show me that one that you just gave me, but he did the one that had the choose multiple between true and false. So we pulled that one out. Oh, did I lose you? Okay. Leon has dropped. So I'm gonna did I stop recording? Am I still recording? Okay. That's it for tonight. Oh, there you're back. You're almost back. You back, Leon? You still trying to connect? Ooh. Oh no.
Oh, I'm back.
Oh, they are. I'm just reading
Anyways.
that the guy who played Shaft died today. That's sad. Anyway,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so I'm trying to get through there. So if you ever think there's a question, let me know and I'll go check it and fix your grade. I've got no problem with that.
all right.
We're getting better because I can actually, like I said, as of last semester, I can actually go in and make changes to questions. So it's no longer having to fix them every semester. I'm fixing them once and done. So all right, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Take care. Bye.
Bye.